Maybe this video will inspire me to DNF books because I don't have the best track record when it comes to DNFing books. I hold on for dear life even if the book is horrible. Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and today I'm going to be reacting to the reasons why you guys DNF books. If you don't know what DNF means, it means did not finish, and it's a term that's typically used when you did not finish a book. Oftentimes it has a negative connotation because something in the book made you upset, made you rage, made you not want to finish that book. I'm a really nosy person, which is what inspired this video. I like to know things, even if they're things that have nothing to do with me, aka the reasons you DNF books. This does not affect my life at all, and yet I need to know. I need to know the things that make you guys DNF books. And I'm super excited to see what those things are today and just compare them to my own thoughts and my own feelings. And if I myself would DNF a book based off the elements that have you DNFing a book. Though again, I am the worst when it comes to DNFing books. It takes a lot for me to put a book down and never pick it back up again. Let's get started. First up, we have the pregnancy trope. So many of you said the pregnancy trope. I was surprised by the explosion of pregnancy submissions. Not y'all hating on pregnant people. No, but actually this had me like browsing my encyclopedia of read books and trying to figure out if I've read a book that has like the surprise pregnancy element involved in it. And like, I don't think that I've read one. And if I have, then I must have like completely blacked it out of my memory because I cannot recall a single book that has the surprise pregnancy trope, which I feel like a lot of you guys would be jealous of me since clearly so many of you guys don't like it and it makes you DNF a book. Catch me out here dodging bullets. But also low-key, yet not so low-key since I'm saying it in a YouTube video to several people. Now I want to try one out and see if it makes me rage DNF a book. The only problem here is that I can't ask for book recommendations that have like the surprise pregnancy trope in it. Otherwise it'll lose its shock value. Give me the plot twist pregnancy trope or give me nothing at all. I mean, the fact that so many of you guys submitted this should have me being like, maybe I should steer clear of books with that trope. But instead I'm over here like, why do we hate pregnant characters? What is the cause of the pregnancy hate? What do we have against the baby bumps? I need to experience this for myself, not getting pregnant per se. Will absolutely pass on that. No surprise pregnancy for Jesse the Reader in the near future. But I want to need to know what all the rage is over the prego characters. I mean, I can see why it could potentially be sort of an upset. Maybe it could be like a cop-out element that pops up to get the characters out of a specific situation. I can definitely see that element being used as like a lazy writing style method. Like the plot is brewing, tea is scalding hot, the gossip is juicy, and then all of a sudden the author pulls the pregnancy trope out of their hat and boom, everything has been ruined. They just blocked the explosion of drama from erupting. Now that I've like put it into perspective, I can see that being really upsetting, so I get it. My favorite is one of you calling it a jump scare pregnancy. Not the jump scare. Animal cruelty / abuse. Amen. 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 I feel like one of my weaknesses in general is pets. Like throw a pet in your book and they will become my favorite character within the book. I will get incredibly attached to it. I will probably get more attached to it than I will the main character. That's just how it is. I'm an animal lover. I'm a pet lover. They are my weakness. But the second anything bad happens to it, you've betrayed me and I will absolutely never read one of your books ever again. Find your name in my burn book. I remember the first book that ever had me bawling my eyes out, which let me just say, I don't typically cry with books. Like very rarely will I cry while reading a book. I promise I'm not cold-hearted, but the one book that made me like full on cry, gave me puffy eyes, had snot running down my face, you're welcome for the visual, involved a dog dying. I was so upset. That was like the first book that like ever betrayed me. I don't even remember the title of the book because this is way back when I was like 12 or something. Damn, it messed me up. Mentioning another book series that exists in real life, classics are sometimes okay. I understand this one. It's not necessarily an ick for me because for some reason it makes me like overly excited. I'm like, oh, I've read that. I've seen that in a bookstore. I've not read that, but I have it and I want to read it. That's what usually happens with me when a book reference pops up in another book, but I can see it being a bit on the irritating side. Like I totally understand your point of view here because it can kind of take you out of the book. For example, like when those book references pop up, it can like start to have you thinking about those books and like you lose focus on the book that you're reading because you're thinking of those books. Then there's the case where like the books that are mentioned are books that you hate. Catch me rolling my eyes when they're mentioned. It can remind you that like you are in fact reading about characters and not real people, which I don't know about y'all, but like sometimes I get so lost in a book that I'm like, oh, I'm forgetting the fact that they're not real. Let me live in my delulu-ness. And then there are the times when it feels like the book references are just like the author trying to be hip and cool and with the times. Even as someone who doesn't mind when books are referenced, I even have moments where I'm like, are we just mentioning these things to be trendy and cool? All that to say, I see where you're coming from. I personally don't mind book references. I feel like it's also a good way for the author to kind of like shape out their characters a little little bit and give you an idea as to what the characters like and help kind of add more to their personality and their interests. I feel like I've rambled on. Let's move on. When a book is dual timeline and I only care about one of the timelines. This is so understandable. I struggle with dual timelines, even though I have read many books that have dual timelines, and there are quite a few of my favorite books that have dual timelines. So one that I'm thinking of currently is the Namiya General Store. That book is flooded with dual timelines, but I think it really comes down to like how it's done. My little brain has a hard time keeping track of all the things, and with dual timelines, there's so many things you have to keep track of. Throw too many things in my little brain and you're gonna have him struggling. The added layer here is that typically books with dual timelines, like you're not only like switching often and you're not only like jumping back and forth between these different timelines, but often they are connected in some kind of way. And a lot of times it's up to you to find those connections. Like more times than not, you're just given little hints as to what connects the timelines, and you don't really find out till like the big reveal at the end. And so that can often be a struggle too, because like you're constantly trying to keep up with all the hints, all the clues, and seeing if you can figure out what the big reveal is going to be by the end of the book. And that can be a lot. And then there's the times when there is one timeline that is much more interesting than the rest of the timelines. And so every time you're reading from that like really dull timeline, it's the worst. It makes you wish that you had the ability to read faster so that those sections would go by faster. I can totally see why this is a DNF moment, because there are so many layers to this one. Annoying main characters. I mean, this one makes sense because who wants to sit there through the entirety of a novel and read a book about a character that makes you want to chuck the book across the room and not finish it? Not I, Captain, not I. Though I do, and I do often. Sometimes I just feel like I need to stick it out because sometimes the characters will evolve and change and grow, but let me be the one to break the bad news. That rarely happens. Just DNF the book. And Jesse, practice what you preach. Demonizing mental illness. I don't blame you for this one, and if there are books that are demonizing mental illness in the year of 2023, what are you doing? News alert, a majority of people these days are dealing with some kind of mental illness, and making it seem like some kind of scary thing or using it for some kind of scary element says a lot about you, the author. Like, you just spilled your own tea. Nobody's got to do it for you. You wrote that. I can't recall reading a book recently that demonizes mental illness, but that's because like if I hear of a book that does that, then like obviously I'm gonna avoid it like the plague. I would consider that a red flag book situation where there's no way you'd walk into anything beneficial in opening up that book. TikTok or COVID-19. I get the TikTok one for sure, because for me, well, I assume that you're meaning TikTok in this sense, like TikTok being mentioned in the book, making that a DNF, or do you just mean like TikTok books in general? Because I'm kind of over the TikTok hate. Like, I get it if you like feel like you're not getting good book recommendations from TikTok, but like that's also on you. No offense, no offense, no offense. Like, there's a way to curate your feed where you're getting book recommendations from people who you trust and people who read books that are similar to what you read. And I get it, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, they all have these tables that are like TikTok books, but like those are just like the popular TikTok books. There is a way to curate your feed. But my response to this is more so about like social media being woven into books. Like, that is one of my biggest icks, which is silly because obviously social media is such a normal part of our society. Very rarely do you come in contact with somebody who doesn't have social media, but when you do, they're like the most peaceful person you've ever come in contact with. There are several reasons as to why I don't really love social media being kind of like woven in. One, I can't help but think about how much it ages the books. And I get that it is like sort of a sign of the time situation, and I don't think it's bad to like have some books be a sign of the time, but I think that there's something so beautiful about having books that have that kind of timeless feeling to them. And I think it's also just like such a hard thing to achieve these days, especially with a lot of the books out there currently reflecting the lives that we're living and the age that we're living in. So like it makes sense, but like I just love books that have that timeless feeling. And I feel like books like that are such a rare find these days. Then there's also the situation where like social media is ever changing. There are social media that will die out, things like Vine. Though let me be clear, Vine was iconic and I still watch Vine compilations to this day. The names of social media might change, like Twitter changing to X, but I think the biggest thing that grinds my gear and gives me the biggest ick, makes me cringe the most, is when stories have their own social media and it's similar to the ones that we have, but they just like have a different name, and often the name is horrible. The reason it makes me cringe so much is because they're given cringe-worthy names. I just can't stand it. I just can't do it. I just can't deal. I don't know if these authors are like trying to be comedic in the names that they come up with, but I'm not laughing. It's never funny to me. It's only a big cringe. So that's my response to that, even though you probably were just referencing TikTok books in general, but I gave you a mouthful of something else, so I hope you enjoy it. As for COVID-19, I get it, because I feel like we were a little bit oversaturated with all the COVID books. I personally am okay with it. It's not something that makes me DNF a book, because I feel like it's something that we all went through, something we can all relate to, and something that most all of us understand like the magnitude of. And it makes sense that artists would come out of COVID-19 creating art surrounding COVID-19 and how it affected them. Art can help heal trauma, and obviously obviously COVID-19 was a very traumatic event. The way certain men describe women. All I really have to say to this is, valid. I feel like you can tell a lot about male authors and how they write women on the page. And more times than not, it reveals that they see women as objects. You're telling on yourself, male authors. Cheating, because the cheetah's gonna cheat. So many of you submitted cheating as a big DNF for you, and I have a very controversial take. But just like, bear with me, hear me out, and know that I do not support cheating in any sense of the word. Let me be clear about that. Cheating is bad. But I don't have a problem with cheating being a part of a storyline within a book because it's a real thing that happens. I do think this does heavily depend on how it's written though. That's a big thing here. A big thing that I want to be clear on. It's how it's written. There are times when cheating is romanticized, and that is when it's not okay. That's when it falls into no territory, red flag territory. But I think that there should be books that have cheating involved in them. Again, that is not me saying I stand for cheating, because I clearly do not stand for cheating. Please don't misunderstand me. While I know that it can be like a triggering thing for some people, I think it can be healing for people who have gone through an experience where they've been cheated on. And again, this goes back to like how it's written. Like, I don't think writing about a character cheating on their partner is the way to go about it. Like, no. That's not what I'm talking about. I more so mean like the main character being cheated on and what they're experiencing, how they're dealing with it, how they're picking up the pieces and healing. That's more so what I mean. I don't like having controversial opinions, but I hope you get what I'm saying. I hope you understand. Let me know if you understand what I'm saying. We can continue this conversation down below in the comments. Please, someone make me feel less alone. Growly men. I can't even do that without cringing. Personally, a growl... Sounds so stupid. Personally, a growl here and there doesn't bother me, but if you're growling up and down pages from beginning to end, see you later, boys, see you later, DNF. I feel like I haven't read many books with growly men, and that must mean I'm God's favorite. Cheers to that. When the writing tries too hard to make the language flowery and it takes away from the plot. I hear what you're saying, even though I am a flowery writing lover. Put the flowery words on the page and I will feast. I will gladly fall into the garden of words. Catch me with all the floweriness, cuddling up to all the flowery words. But I can see why you feel this way. Me just over here gushing over flowery words and not like talking about this, but like I understand what you're saying, because I feel like there can be times when like it's so focused on like being poetic and flowery and beautiful writing where it like loses substance. It gets lost in trying to be beautiful over adding beneficial things to the story. The miscommunication trope. This is one of those things that should make me DNF a book because it drives me bonkers. And I mean it when I say that. Like, I hate it. It's never fun for me. It frustrates me to no end. I'm always like, how hard is it just to say what you're feeling? Or clue in other people as to what the plan of action is that you're going to take, instead of keeping everyone in the dark and causing unnecessary conflict. But the thing is, as much as I harp on these characters in my mind as I'm reading their like malfunctioning communication styles in the books, in real life, I have a hard time communicating. I live my life under the miscommunication trope umbrella. It's not fun and I do not recommend it. I also blame the fact that I'm a people pleaser, and that definitely causes conflict at times. Even though you don't want it to cause conflict because you want to please everybody, but in pleasing everybody, you end up causing more it's the worst. Anyway, moving on. I've only DNF'd 3 books and it was because they were dragging. A very valid reason to DNF a book. I feel like if the story beats are off within a book, it can just completely throw off my interest. Like if it takes too long to get from point A to point B, I know we're gonna have issues. Our relationship is gonna be rocky. Pick up the pace or I'm gonna move my face away from you. So I feel this on a personal level, though again, I have a hard time DNFing books. So maybe that's because I'm stubborn and I stick to things even though I know I shouldn't stick to things. Too descriptive. I get this one, and I feel like oftentimes the things that are being over-described do not add anything to the story, are not even vital things. It's just the author taking a chance to flex on the fact that they know how to describe things. Good job, Billy. You just took 100 pages to describe a blue mug. This one actually reminds me of the last one with the dragon, because I feel like a lot of times there are books that do this, where like they over-describe things, and it just throws off the pace. Makes things drag on and on and on, and it's just so unnecessary, and it drives me bonkers. I'm not here for it, though I will keep reading a book if it has the style because I'm annoying. Something like The Power of Friendship. Not The Power of Friendship hate. Tell me you hate wholesome things without telling me you hate wholesome things. To each their own, but you're wrong. I'm kidding. I love you. Live your life. XOXO Gossip Girl. Cheers. Incest. I mean, I hope that a lot of people would be yeeting books out of their hands if incest popped up, says the boy who keeps reading Cassandra Clare books. It happened once. These ones came in back to back, which I found comical. We've got When There's No Romance and Spice. I hate it. For me, this one is so situational. Like, if I go into the book knowing that it's going to be like smothered in romance, smothered in smuttiness, I can be down for it because I'm going in with those expectations. But if it's a jump scare, smutty romance coming out of nowhere, I'm out. If it feels like a Wattpad fanfic. Hey, sometimes the Wattpad fanfics are a solid good time. That's all I'll say about that. But again, similar to the last one, I feel like this is one of those situations where like I need to know that that's what I'm getting when I'm going into that book. With the book reeks of misogyny. Agreed. There is no room for you at this table, Mr. Misogyny. You can beat it. If it doesn't catch my attention in the first couple of pages, I immediately DNF it. I admire your ability to just be like, nah, it ain't for me. Because again, I'm too stubborn with that. I always lead with a, it'll get better attitude. And sometimes, a lot of times, that bites me in the butt. Flat characters. Mood. Stop just giving us clay. Give us sculptures. Authors, it is your job to do the sculpting. Amnesia. Amnesia is just like lazy writing at this point, so I like completely understand this one. I don't think I've ever seen it be used in a very creative way. If you guys have any recommendations for me of books that use amnesia in a way that's creative, drop the recs. I need the receipts. Pop culture references. This is one of those situations for me where it's like, if I get the reference, I'm okay with it. If I don't get the reference, then I hate it. I don't like it. Which is so dumb. I feel like that's like main character syndrome. Like, if it's not serving me, then it shouldn't serve anyone else. A love triangle containing two brothers. Yeah. Yikes. Teacher-student romance. Honestly, this trope should be illegal. I said it and I don't regret it. I've never seen anybody say that they love the teacher-student romance trope, and yet someone's reading these books because they keep coming out. So there are people that enjoy them. They're just quietly reading them to themselves. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. I feel like with all of these, I could definitely see where you guys were coming from. There were some that I related to and some that I felt very similar to. Though again, I really need to learn how to just DNF a book. Just give it up, Jesse. Stop wasting your time and read books that you know you're actually gonna like. If you weren't able to have a submission for this video, I still want to hear from you. Let me know down below in the comments what makes you DNF a book. Were there any submissions that I mentioned that you relate to and you're like, yep, same, relatable? Let me know that as well down below in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, yo.